All right, welcome to the Explainer. You know, we've all been there. Childhood. It's a time of scraped knees, super embarrassing moments, but also those totally unexpected victories. But what if I told you the secret to getting through the tough stuff was the exact same thing that fueled our greatest wins?
So, that brings us to the big question we're tackling today. We're going to explore a few really powerful stories that show how the biggest challenges of growing up can, believe it or not, become our greatest strengths. Let's dive in.
Okay, so let's jump into our first story. And it starts with something I think a lot of us can relate to, the dreaded school project. But in this case, a simple diorama becomes the stage for a huge lesson in creativity and, well, perspective.
And look, the stakes could not have been higher. As the narrator from Wagon Train at Dusk tells it, he wasn't just building a diorama. He was building a diorama to end all dioramas, and his goal to finally show up his classroom rival, the legendary project builder Jorge Núñez. Yeah, this was going to be his masterpiece.
So picture this. He finishes the project, a perfect circle of Conestoga wagons, and he goes to sleep dreaming of victory. But then, in the dead of night, he gets jolted awake by this awful sound, a ripping sound. The family dog, Lucy, is just completely demolishing his masterpiece. I mean, it was total heartbreaking defeat. The project is ruined.
Okay, but this is where the story gets really interesting. Instead of just giving up, instead of just saying, the dog ate my homework, which, let's be real, it literally did, he has this moment of pure genius. He scoops up the wreckage, puts it back in the box, and gives it this brilliant new title, Wagon Train After a Tornado.
So you see, the real triumph wasn't about fixing the diorama, it was about reframing it. The teacher loved the new story, and even his rival Jorge was impressed. The lesson wasn't just to laugh it off, but to actually see it differently. As he puts it, I learned that some things aren't so bad. He had just discovered the power of perspective.
But you know, not all challenges are as obvious as a dog-eaten diorama, right? Sometimes the battle is totally invisible, which brings us to the story of a young Jacqueline Woodson from her memoir, Brown Girl Dreaming.
For a young Jacqueline, the challenge was the words themselves. While her sister's getting praise for being gifted, Jacqueline is just struggling. She describes trying to read like this. The words twist, twirl across the page. She felt different and she felt like she was falling behind.
But here's the thing. While reading was a total struggle, her mind was just overflowing with stories. She was incredibly imaginative. The problem was, this amazing strength, it was often seen as a weakness. When she would tell these fantastic stories, her sister would just dismiss it, saying, "She's making up stories again." Her greatest gift was totally misunderstood.
So you can just feel it, right? She's stuck at this childhood crossroads. On one side, her mother sees her stories as dangerous lies, even warning her, if you lie, you'll steal. But on the other side, her Uncle Robert totally gets it. He sees her gift. He tells her keep making up stories, basically giving her permission to be herself. She was getting two completely different messages from the people she trusted most.
So okay, how do we connect a totally wrecked diorama with a misunderstood gift for telling stories? Well, the answer lies in something we all have, the incredible power of make-believe.
And this is the key. Imagination, it isn't just daydreaming, no way. It's the tool that lets you look at a pile of broken pieces and see a tornado. It's the engine that turns confusing, twisting words into powerful stories. It literally allows us to transform our reality.
And you know who's the ultimate example of this? Calvin and his tiger, Hobbes. I mean, think about it. To everyone else, Hobbes is just a stuffed animal. But to Calvin, he is a living, breathing best friend. Through their shared imagination, a boring afternoon becomes a wild space adventure, and a simple cardboard box becomes a time machine. They use make-believe not just to escape, but to build a richer, more exciting reality for themselves. So when you pull back and look at all three of these stories, the common thread is just crystal clear. For the boy with the diorama, imagination was a way to escape failure. For Jacqueline, it was this inner gift she had to fight to protect. And for Calvin, it's a creative tool he uses to build his entire world. It's the same power, just used in different ways to find that triumph.
Okay, so this actually gives us a kind of practical blueprint for turning our own challenges into triumphs. First, you reframe the problem. You turn the disaster into a brand new story. Second, you embrace your inner world. That thing that makes you feel different, like Jacqueline's storytelling, is probably your hidden superpower. And finally, you wield your imagination. You don't just dream, you actively use make-believe as a tool to build a better reality.
just like Calvin does every single day.
You know, in the end, these stories aren't just about dioramas or comic strips. They're really a blueprint. They show us how the challenges of growing up are often the very things that force us to become more creative, more resilient, and ultimately, more ourselves.
And that really brings the question right back to you. Think about your own story, your own version of that diorama disaster, or that moment of feeling different. What was that childhood challenge that truly shaped you? And how did your imagination, maybe without you even realizing it, help you turn it into a triumph?